Good evening, friends. A lot of you had questions which I could not answer in the day as it was a very hectic day on the political impact, the legal impact, and the global impact of this unprecedented decision by the Yogi Sarkar of registering an FIR on Twitter. I am again and again telling you the FIR on certain XYZ people is one part of it. FIR on Twitter itself is the much more serious part of it, which will have global, political, legal, all three consequences. Why? Because it's the first time in India that Twitter, which is a platform or a so called platform, is being held liable. So, because it's the first time thing, the reaction would be very strong. They don't want this to happen again and will be on all fronts. The three I mentioned. So, one by one, I will cover all three of these fronts on which action can be taken. If you are joining for the first time, please subscribe to the channel, press the bell icon, join live, and I will take your questions. Or should I just do that? I take your questions on legal, political. Let me say, okay, legal first. Legal is briefly, I will tell you legal impact. Twitter, Facebook, everything gets protection under Section 79. It's a platform. I had written an article in Bharat Times, already told you that US has had massive fines on these companies. Some other companies like Apple, for example, $5 billion. 5 billion. Okay, I can't see my face. Yeah, $5 billion because of certain violations. India will also do that, or India will remove the protection under Section 79. Fines India doesn't do. I don't remember India doing a 30 crore fine. I think the reaction on that would be very strong. And some of you will also start saying that's an assault on the right to do business. But that's a separate debate. Let's do what India has done. I had suggested these two things. Either you do this fine or you do remove the protection under Section 79. That has been removed. The effect of that is they will now face the law in India, civil as well as criminal, as they are an editor. Right? So that is the technical part. What all they do to do that is a separate part. So there are two parts. Reclassifying them as an editor, do we take their protection away, do we not take their, that's all going to be lengthy court battles because this will be the first time. So I will not bore you with too many technical details. They are not relevant right now. Obviously it is a huge change. I'm saying it's the first case, so the entire law will get settled. When we say law will get settled, means that the law will be decided and interpreted by the court. Government will say this is our version of the law, the companies will say this is our version of the law, and then constitutional challenge, statutory challenge, etc. And then the court will decide. So the entire law will be settled. It's a new thing. So on legal, it is everything new. Now let's come to political. Political will be this, that the narrative that will start is that because the government is a single party majority government, and these foreign companies, the opposition uses them, the government is doing politics, that will be the attack by the opposition. The other way of the attack is this, that this is a question, Sandhya Mishra, it's a good question. What is your response on Hindu phobia in countries like America? I'm changing the topic, but I just saw this. So on Friday or Sunday, maybe this week, British Indian who's discovered her Sanatani roots, Kamya, would be here on the channel, and she will tell you about the journey of Hindu phobia. She's traveled the world and where all she faced Hindu phobia and where all she has in her journey to discover her roots and be back in India. She lives in a small village now, mostly in India. So I will bring her, and it will be how to influence the young generation, which she is trying to work on after rediscovering or discovering her roots, Sanatan Dharma and all. So we will discuss that. But now what is this that legal impact will be court battles. Political impact, let us discuss that. Okay, you ask me questions. I think you are more interested in questions. Why only single FIR in UP? Why not across India? Sambit Patra? Completely not. I don't agree with you at all. I will tell you, this is, as I said, a new territory on Twitter. I'm not talking about the people. On Twitter, it's a new territory. This will settle the law. Can Twitter be made liable? Even one FIR will be challenged in the High Court and then the Supreme Court, or maybe directly the Supreme Court, because as you said, it can happen to the entire country, right? So, does the government, a state government, or the state police have the power to register the FIR on Twitter, which up till now has enjoyed the protection of Section 79? Is the question, my friend, is the question. So, one FIR is enough to test the legal proposition. If this FIR is won by the government, there's no question here, Aditya ji. If this question is won by the government, then obviously impact is every government, every state can do it. It's called again a legal thing called test case. If the UP government can do an FIR, then every government can do an FIR. So we will have to see what will happen. What do you think about the Yogi action? I was on Times Now and I said this, that people are trying to say this happened because of the video. No. My editorial was published on, when was it published? My editorial was published on 31st May. So as I said, Twitter's actions, this was inevitable. Either a $1 million, $1 billion fine or FIR. India, it doesn't do fines that often. India straight away goes to criminal law. Here, defamation is criminal, which should not be. Here, defamation is criminal. We still have certain laws which I think we should not have, which are very restrictive of free speech, criminal laws. So we have that. So India went to what India does, a criminal case. That's what happened in India. Any question? What is your take on? Anyways, I will take your, now let me finish the political and global point. Legal, as I told you, it will be a long battle. It's a change. The technicalities will bore you. It will be boring to even first year law students, because there are so many dimensions of this challenge that we'll have to see. Firstly, what's the view the government of India takes? Even today, it's a dispute. Has Section 79 protection being revoked or not? That's an open question. That question will be settled when the Union of India files an affidavit. They have not given a clear statement or notification. So that is also open right now. What does Modi Sarkar do? Yogi Sarkar is an FIR. What does Modi Sarkar, that is the government of India, do? Have they expressly taken away the protection? As I told you, when I read the IT minister's statement, he's saying they will have to comply with the law. But the moot question, are they having intermediary protection or not? That will have to be addressed and answered. If they have protection, then legally Yogi Adityanath's FIR, at least vis-a-vis Twitter, will not stand. And if they don't have the protection, it will stand. Simple as that. So that question has to be settled. Now the political impact will be massive. Will be massive. Why? Because let me be very clear. Twitter, you may like it or not like it, that's the place where BJP is the strongest. You think it might not be strong there also, but in my assessment, and there is no way of either you or me being able to prove our assessment, Twitter, because BJP grew in 2011 on Twitter, BJP is very strong. It has a lot of supporters on it. It has a lot of influencers on it. There are two things you need on Twitter: supporters, obviously, and influencers. People who have their own credibility and whose voice you listen to. If you are joining here, you somewhere trust my voice. That's why you are joining here. We started this English channel just in April in the lockdown, and we are already 70,000 strong. How are we 70,000 strong? Because somewhere you trust me. So that sort of a thing is there on Twitter also. There BJP is good. Where BJP suffers is, I'll tell you, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. And it's okay. BJP should suffer if they don't have enough people speaking for them, or other people are speaking for themselves. That's perfectly okay. But the opposition believes that social media is the place where they are going to defeat BJP and build their narrative. And honestly, BJP doesn't do enough work on these three platforms. Okay. So they believe this is a means by the government to control these platforms. I don't agree with this view, but I have to tell you the view. Political. So the opposition will launch a very furious attack on this. You notice two things. Rahul Gandhi also made this tweet. Why? He is trying to back his people. By the time Rahul Gandhi made his tweet, the version was out that this is a false fake news. That version was out. Rahul Gandhi did that tweet after that version. Why? Because he wanted to support and protect his lobby. That is my interpretation because we are doing a political interpretation. That's my opinion. And if you see Priyanka Gandhi Vadra on Ram Mandir so called land purchase, non land purchase, she did a post on Facebook. Go on the Facebook, she did a post on Facebook. And I did not see it on Twitter. I couldn't see it on Twitter. So why would you do it on Facebook and why would you not do it on Twitter? Because you are finding other means to where you believe you are stronger. Right? Now let me take it to the next part. The political fight will be very strong, very grave, very serious, and it's not something you can ignore because then the prachar will start. One prachar would be that these foreign companies need to obey the Indian law. The other prachar would be that this is the government's way of restricting free speech, emergency, fascism. You will decide how the prachar goes, what you believe. But prachar or the strategy or the agenda of this would be definitely spread. Now, the last point, that is the global impact. That is a very serious question because I believe there will be a very strong global impact also. They cannot take that American company, which is honestly, Google is much more fairer than Twitter because it's a big business. That's an interesting question. Sir, farmers' agitation started against Congress itself. Why such an See, politics, I have told you this line many times. Somebody asked the Prime Minister of England, what is the one thing about politics that worries you? What makes you tense? What do you think will be damage to you? His answer, what makes you tense, Mr. Prime Minister? What worries you, Mr. Prime Minister? The Prime Minister answered, events, my dear boy, events. Nobody can control events. Events smite you sometimes very hard. Example, COVID is an event which happened where the government in power has to answer more than the government of a state. Now the COVID tragedies happened. You will judge. You all voters across India will judge. The government did enough, did not do enough, how much it do. It's all, I'm just throwing it to you. But COVID was an event which in 2019 nobody could predict. In 2020 January nobody could predict. At least common people. I'm not talking about some intelligence agencies having some feedback. Right? Nobody could predict. World had not seen. How do you prepare for something the world has not seen in 100 years? Our Prime Minister was born. He had not seen this. I was born. I had not seen this. Our chief ministers of states were born. They have not seen it. Nobody alive, unless somebody is what, 102 or 3. And then also you would be a baby. But no politician and active politics alive had seen it. So how do you prepare for something you haven't seen? It's an event. So your question, events and we deserve, was answered by the British Prime Minister. Events are always worrisome. You never know what an event will do, how it will hit you. COVID, farmer protest. There are so many events like that which will hit you and you don't know how that happens. Okay, let me take this question. Press freedom index. The question is not this. The question, it's a good question. Firstly, I don't know all 180 countries. I don't know all 142 countries. So these ratings, I don't believe them one bit of any country. Actually, the one place I will say press is rather free is US. They have very good free speech laws. But is India 142 today? Was India 142 in 2012? They brought Section 66A. See, my view is very clear. And this is not about any government. Whether it be BJP, whether it be Congress, no government wants you to have the freedom of speech to speak whatever you want. Very bluntly, I'm telling you. And also, equally bluntly, I'm telling you, this is not BJP Congress issue, this is a government and power issue. Congress came to power by wanting speech and doing a freedom struggle, right? The first Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru, the first amendment was restricting your speech. These reasonable restrictions came in the First Amendment. Congress, which had faced sedition law, did not remove it after coming to power. Congress, which had faced all these laws in which some of them had gone to jail, and all other freedom fighters who had gone to jail, right? Who had faced these laws. And when Nehru comes to power, he brings the First Amendment. And even with BJP, no government will want you to have a complete freedom of speech. So when you talk about press freedom, I would just say this much. India has press freedom, India has democracy. Rating game, I don't go into because I don't know what other countries you're talking about. What are the freedoms there? And also on freedom, actually, so many of you are listening to me. I will tell you bluntly on your face. Half of you or 80% of you want the opposite side to be in jail whenever you don't agree with them. Freedom of speech cannot happen like that because the governments change. You may not agree with somebody, and just because you don't agree with them, you want them to be in jail. And then the government in Chhattisgarh is different, government in Rajasthan is different. People who support Congress there would want everybody who speaks anything pro BJP, they should be in jail. What happens in the end? All parties enjoy it because all parties get the power. All parties get the power. So on freedom of speech, my view is no party wants freedom of speech because every party finds it very easy not to have freedom of speech, be it any government. That is my view on this. And you can have a different view. You can think one party wants freedom of speech, one doesn't. None of them want it. They all like the power. Leave the government. The bureaucrats love the power. The bureaucrats love the power. And that is how it is. Oh, somebody's birthday today. All right. I will just saw it. Happy birthday to you. Kiran Kranti. I don't know you are a male or a female. But anyways, happy birthday to you and have a fabulous year. Okay, let me take some other questions. If people like Twitter, give rating. Exactly, I'm saying who's deciding the rating? Like Twitter fact checkers. Who are the fact checkers of Twitter? So these foreign ratings, I've forgotten now. Standard, Moody's. Somebody gave a slightly not so good rating to US. Some financial rating agency gave not so good rating to US, and the chairman or the chief had to resign. I dimly remember it. Somebody can Google that for me. I dimly remember recently some financial rating agency did not give the best rating to US, and they gave that rating based on objective criteria. Do you know what is US's debt? US is in a huge debt trap. Only thing is, it's a very different economy because the world economy is on dollars. So some rating agency, I've forgotten now, and if I remember correctly, subject to correction, their chairman or CEO was removed after giving that rating. So who decides the rating? Yeah, who? Don't believe this. They talk about religious freedom in India, and they give rating on that. Stop looking at foreign ratings. No sense. No sir. No pair. If foreign rating, throw it in the trash can. Simple as that. If you comply, let us see. As I'm saying, the technical issues on Twitter and protection are very technical. You will have to see the challenge they mount and the response of the government. Because as I said, I have not yet seen a clear statement that Section 79 stands revoked. They don't have to make it also. But when it goes to court now, it will be challenged in court. Let us see the documents, what are the affidavits filed, and then we can discuss these technical issues. Before that, we cannot discuss it because we don't have enough thing to do. How do you think? I've already spoken on the FIR many times. I think you have joined late. So you can please take it, you can rewind this and see it from the beginning. And that is why I say, if you are joining for the first time, subscribe kar liya karo, so that you get a notification by doing dhad on the bell icon, so that you get the notification and then I don't have to repeat myself. Okay. Sir, how to counter propaganda? Propaganda countering is on you. How much energy you have. See, 2013 people had energy. 2018 people had energy. Now, if you have the energy and you believe this government is good, then you do counter propaganda by talking to your friends about facts. Facts you can hear here or many other places. And if you think the government is not good enough, then you will not counter it. That is for you to do. Anyways, so 20 minutes I've spoken. Now, time for me to have dinner. I hope you also have had your dinner. You should have had it by 8 o'clock. But I was on air, so I couldn't have it. Now I'll have it. And have a good night. And one more announcement I have to make. I will be with Deepika Bhardwaj on false rape cases on men. She's made a documentary, a very interesting documentary, India Sons, which will be having a platform release. Her last documentary was on Netflix, and she has worked a lot on these false dowry cases, false rape cases, etc. So she would be coming on Saturday, 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. And you can join in with your question on these false rape cases and how certain times the law is used for exploitation and blackmail. So see you on that topic on Saturday. And on Hindu ecosystem, on Hindu that British Indian discovering her Sanatani roots and traveling the world, we will have it on Friday or Sunday. So I'll be just fixing a few conversations. So do join whenever they happen. Take care. Good night. Sleep tight. Sweet dreams.